Why were Confederate submarine missions so suicidal? Imagine being in a tiny metal tube, underwater, with no modern navigation tools, trying to sneak up on a much larger ship. That was the reality for Confederate submarine crews during the American Civil War. These missions were incredibly dangerous for many reasons. First, the technology was very primitive. The most famous Confederate submarine, the H.L. Hunley, was built from iron plates and was operated by a small crew using hand cranks. It had no electric lights, no advanced navigation, and relied on basic ballast tanks and diving planes. The crew had to work in cramped, poorly ventilated conditions, which made every mission physically exhausting and risky. Mechanical failures were common because the technology was still new and untested. During testing, the Hunley had accidents, including one where a hatch was left open, drowning 5 crew members. The risk of losing the entire crew was high even before attacking. Underwater visibility was almost non-existent, so crews had to operate mostly on instinct and limited surface cues. They often attacked at night to avoid detection, but that made maneuvering even harder. The main weapon was a spar torpedo, a bomb mounted on a long pole that extended from the bow. To hit an enemy ship, the submarine had to get very close, exposing itself to enemy fire and risking damage from the explosion. The Hunley successfully sank the Union ship USS Housatonic, but it also sank the submarine and all 8 crew members, likely from the shockwave or structural damage. Once submerged or in attack mode, there was no way for the crew to escape if something went wrong. The small size of the vessel and lack of emergency systems meant that any critical failure often meant death. The Confederate Navy was under a lot of pressure due to the Union blockade, which limited their resources and ships. They saw submarines as a desperate but promising way to break the blockade. This urgency pushed crews to take huge risks with incomplete technology and little safety. So, in the end, Confederate submarine missions were so suicidal because they relied on unproven, fragile technology, involved close-range attacks with no safety nets, and operated in conditions that made escape nearly impossible. These missions showed how brave and innovative these sailors were, even if the human cost was very high.